A rare Israeli airstrike in the occupied West Bank. The target, 2 Palestinians in a mosque in the Jenin Refugee Camp.
I was under this window and heard a loud explosion just after 2 a.m. There's no place for us to go, so we stayed home.
Israeli troops usually raid the camp in the north of the West Bank, often exchanging fire with Palestinian fighters. This time, Israeli soldiers were nowhere to be found. A dangerous escalation, Palestinians say. The Israeli army says the 2 people targeted were responsible for previous attacks and were planning new ones. Following the strike, some families say Israeli forces called them threatening to kill other wanted Palestinians.
With these assassinations, it's clear that the Israeli forces are starting to copy what they're doing in the besieged Gaza Strip in the occupied West Bank too.
This is our fear, that these assassinations will come from the air. This is a big problem, because when you hit an area, you damage the surroundings.
Israeli forces have been ramping up their raids and increasing their use of aerial attacks in the West Bank, particularly in areas where armed groups are active. On Thursday, a drone strike killed at least 5 Palestinians in the Nur Shams refugee camp near Tulkarem. With more than a dozen Israeli raids on average per day and a growing number of casualties, many here fear that the flames of Israel's war on Gaza are catching up in the West Bank. Nida Ibrahim, Jazeera, Ramallah.
Let's go live to Sarah Khairat in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Let's start with that raid we were talking about the 2 Palestinians who were killed during that raid in the town of Nablus. What more do we know about that?
Rob, we know that 2 people were killed, including a teenager, and this is one of the latest raids that had happened in 24 hours, where multiple raids were carried out across occupied West Bank. And since that one in Nablus, there have been plenty more in the usual areas that you see, such as Tulkarem, just outside of Ramallah over here. And also the latest, there's been a few arrests, including in Jenin Refugee Camp. It's one of the bigger refugee camps here in occupied West Bank for Palestinians that originally had turned up there in 1948 when they were kicked out of their homes. Now, interestingly, what seems to have taken a really sinister turn is that it seems, and that's what we're hearing, it's not confirmed though, from Palestinians that are talking about this, is that one of the people that was arrested, he then had a social media post put up on his Facebook page soon after that arrest with the Israeli flag, and written in text was that don't mess around with the Israeli army. It seems to become a lot more personal at the moment. Also in that refugee camp during that raid, it seems that posters have also been put up warning people to not show solidarity with those that are in Gaza, but it's also saying don't let this be another Gaza, and it warned that they would revoke work permits if they were seen to be supporting Hamas or, of course, any of the armed groups in the West Bank. So it's really taking and escalating into another level that's not been seen, certainly not recently, in occupied West Bank. These are just not the usual raids, the daily raids that we do see here that happen all the time, but now it's becoming a lot more personal.
Yeah, I understand that there have been some more protests in the occupied West Bank in the last few hours. What's been happening there?
Yeah, there were a few sporadic protests that happened in several parts of occupied West Bank, including just to the square here on my right. And at the same time, we were also seeing that in the Lebanese capital, Beirut, and a couple more other places in Lebanon, all happening at the same time. They weren't that big. It started around 3 a.m., so most Palestinians certainly would have been asleep. But it's off the back of every time there's huge a huge number of airstrikes, which is exactly what we have seen, and some of the most ferocious bombardment right now from Israel onto Gaza. That's when youth get together and they rally each other up and they head to the streets. It didn't last for long, but again, it's just showing you that all of those are in occupied territories. All the Palestinians are very much concerned to the situation in Gaza, and they are also feeling those repercussions of Israel, it seems in their words, saying that it's taking revenge, not just against Hamas, but it seems collective punishment against Palestinian people.
Sarah Khairat in the occupied West Bank. Sarah, thank you.